Hello, today is April 29th, and we are reading today 1 Samuel chapter 17, 1 Chronicles chapter 2, and Acts 12. And I love this passage. I bet you love this passage as well of 1 Samuel chapter 17. It's the story that most of us have heard since childhood of David and Goliath. And as we think about this story and how it unfolds, we have a giant, an army, first of all, who this giant represents, who is an army against God. The Israelites go to face this army, the Philistines, and they are terrified because the Philistines, they send this giant out, and he's roaring at them, and he calls on them for 40 long days. And I picture these soldiers who come out. They should be brave and courageous and ready to fight. They are scared. And he comes out, this guy Goliath comes out, and every day shouts at them and defies the living God and challenges somebody to come and fight him. And I picture them, the soldiers, running and hiding in their tents. They're maybe pulling their pillow over their head. They're so scared and they don't want to hear his voice. They're so scared. Then we see it coming into the story, into the scene, David, who is sent by his father to go and check on his brothers who are soldiers as well. He comes into the camp to visit with them, to bring them supplies, and as he's there visiting, talking with them, all at once, it's the daily time for this giant to come out and start yelling and challenging and throwing out terrible things about the living God. David overhears this as he's wait just a minute, let me hear what's going on. What is this? And he listens, and he can't believe what he's hearing. He's like, guys, why is nobody going out to fight him? Why are we just allowing this to happen? His brothers get upset and say, little brother, you need to just go home. And he says, you know what? I'll go out and fight him. And so he gets brought before Saul. And Saul listens to him. He's like, you're just a boy. And Samuel says, you know what? I may be young, but I have had God give me strength and courage. I have been out and as a shepherd, and I have killed a lion, and I've killed a bear, and I have done all kinds of things by the strength of the Lord. And I think that this next thing is this giant that the Lord is going to deliver us from. And I am willing to go out. And so Saul says to David here, he says, go, and the Lord be with you. Well, interesting enough, the leader, who is the king, he is Saul. He is even terrified to go out. Otherwise, he'd be out there fighting Goliath. He is so terrified. They are all terrified. He says, may the Lord be with you. Go on, go. And David, you know the story. He collects 5 little stones and goes out to meet this giant. The giant has a huge staff and a spear and all this stuff he has. Facing this giant, David goes forth and is like, all right, Lord, give me strength, give me accuracy. And he launches this stone at the giant, brings the giant down in total defeat, and goes and uses the giant's sword to cut his head off. It's crazy. It's a gruesome story, and it's crazy that we share this with our kids because how gruesome it is. But you know what? I think it is so vital to see that no matter how old we are, how big, how small, whatever, God will use us. David went out in faith, knowing that God would take care of him in the face of this giant. And he comes back, and Abner brings him into the king because King Saul wants to see him. And actually, David is still holding a picture, probably with the giant, with Goliath's hair. I don't know how he's holding the head, but he's got the head of Goliath. And he carries it in and shows Saul what he's got. And Saul says here in verse 58, he just asks him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And he says, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." He's just a young guy who goes out, and in the face of something that he needed to defeat, he trusted in the Lord to be his strength, to be his accuracy, to be everything that he needed. And he overcame because of God's power. And I don't know what you're facing today, but every day we face different difficulties, different challenges, different giants in our lives. That, you know what, when we're trusting in the Lord, as David did, what an incredible thing to realize that no matter what, I can face it because he is with me. He is guiding me. He is protecting me. He is giving me strength. So I want to leave you with that. Whatever you have today, whatever you have tomorrow, remember that God is with you. He never leaves you or forsakes you, and he will be your strength. And until I see you again, you are sent.